Hello, everyone, and welcome to the She Exudes Now. This is our mini chat. So, we are doing a special live broadcast today because, first of all, it is Autism Awareness Month. And I wanted to make sure to honor that and to provide, of course, awareness of what autism is because it has a special place in my heart. So, in honor of Autism Awareness Month, I do have a special guest with me today. Her name is Miss Veronica Simmons, and I want her to share her story. It is an amazing story. But before we get started, I failed to introduce myself. So, my name is Alicia Renee, and I am the founder of The Confident Lily. And my goal is to encourage the emergence of confidence, faith, and prosperity in the lives of women. And I do the She Exudes Now virtual talks bi-weekly, or I'm sorry, bi-monthly. And it's a safe space for women to get together and talk about a variety of topics and also input some faith and into those topics and into our everyday lives. So, because autism affects so many of us, I wanted to be sure to have this special talk today. I've been pretty open with my experience with autism. I do have a son. He is 14 years old now, and he was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3. Now, what he looks like now compared to where he was when he was 3 is a world of difference. It has been just a blessing from God that he has been able to develop into the young man, even though I don't like to call him a young man because he's still my baby, but the young man that he is today. And I know that my story is not necessarily typical because autism is a part of a spectrum. It's called autism spectrum disorder for a reason because all individuals do not have the same symptoms and they don't have the same story. So, as I mentioned, my guest is Miss Veronica Simmons, and I would like for her to just quickly introduce herself before we get started. Veronica,
Okay.
you want to
Hello,
say hello
world.
to everybody?
Hello, world. My name is Veronica Simmons. I'm the founder of a blog called Unique Mind. I'm autistic. I'm 34 years old, and I have a twin sister named Jessica, who's also autistic. And we were born and raised in Kingston, New York. And we found out we were autistic when we were babies. Back in 1988, when doctors told us that we were vegetables at the time and that we would never ever be functioning adults. So throughout the years, we went to rehab and speech, and it took a lot to get us to where we are today. School was rough for us both, but we managed to make the honor roll, get through high school, graduate. I went to college, and I finished all my credits. And today, I live alone, manage my own apartment. I worked on a military base called Fort Bragg, part time now, and I love fitness, fashion, and makeup.
And you are beautiful, by the way. Your makeup looks great. I need to take some tips from you. But that is amazing, Veronica. I just want to share with everyone just the power of networking and just how good God is and how He brings people together.
Lord,
Um,
yes.
I, Veronica and I are part of a group called Hope Writers. And I remember the beginning of April thinking that I wanted to do something special to just discuss autism, and I hadn't formally put out a post in that group, so I was a little afraid to do so because it's a writing group. But someone mentioned that they would like to work with people that have had experience with autism. And so I followed up in that post, and Veronica was there, and she mentioned that she was actually an adult living with autism. And come to find out, she lives very close to where I live. We're both in the same state. And I was able to talk to her, and just a great conversation. She is definitely an inspiration to others. And so I said, would you like to be on my virtual talk? Because I feel like you are an amazing inspiration. You have a great story. So that is just how we met. And today I just want to ask her a few questions just to get to know more about her experience growing up with autism. All right, Veronica, are you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about just the definition of autism. So it's defined as a developmental disability caused by differences in the brain, and it can cause challenges with social skills, repetitive behavior, speech, and nonverbal communication. Now, that's the formal definition, but how would you define it?
Wow. For a woman who's lived with autism, I personally do not view it as a disability. I view it as a developmental journey
Hmm.
because everybody's journeys is different. People on the autism spectrum are different. We all experience different symptoms differently. Jessica, my
Hmm.
twin sister, her autism is a lot more severe than mine. So I consider her developmental journey a lot more challenging than mine.
Hmm.
That's why I call it our journey.
Yes.
Everybody has different symptoms. Some work, some don't.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And that's a great example. And it's just so powerful how you put it, as far as it being a journey, because everybody's journey is different. And fortunately, you have been blessed to be able to utilize some of the skills that you have, and you can talk to others, you can articulate your experience so that other people can learn more about the journey. So that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. So I asked you to tell a little bit about yourself, and I mentioned that you are a blogger and an aspiring journalist, which is awesome. Can you tell us more about some of the things that you like to do?
I absolutely love fitness. I love makeup. Other than reading and writing, I love to go out. I love to go to the mall, go to the movies, and talk to other people, run my mouth.
So just normal things, right?
Yeah,
That's awesome because sometimes people think that just because you have autism, you're going to be different. Um,
we are, but you'd be surprised.
yeah, just like anyone else, I'm different than, another woman that may be my same age, that maybe lived in my same city. So we're all unique in our own ways, but that doesn't mean that we're fundamentally different. So that's a myth that I would like to debunk, because people always stereotype and assume that just because you have this label of autism, and again, we did say it was a spectrum, but people assume that you're going to be a certain way, or that you're going to be limited on your abilities. And that's not necessarily true. So, thank you. So, leading into that, talking about the spectrum, many individuals are unique, and they have their own set of unique struggles as well.
Mm-hmm.
And with it being a spectrum, what were some of your struggles that you had when you grew up? And what are some that you may be still dealing with today?
Oh, I have a stutter. Also, I have problems with understanding what people are saying sometimes. I have problems with big words like such as encyclopedia or stuff like that. Large words are not my best friend at all.
Okay. And
Also,
so
I'm sorry.
I laughed because many people struggle with words like encyclopedia. And that's not, anything that's very rare to hear. But go ahead.
Hmm.
You were saying.
Also, in high school, I had friends. I was very well known, but whenever I sit with my friends in the cafeteria at lunch, I'll feel so alone because the only people I know with autism are me and my twin sister. So in a way, I felt alienated around my
Mhm.
friends. They had no idea at the
Mhm.
time. I didn't want to say
Oh,
anything to
wow.
upset them, but that's
Mhm.
just how I felt at the time. I
Wow.
felt misunderstood. And
Yeah.
autism, the information at my time was very scarce. So
Mhm.
it was
Mhm.
really, really challenging for me. I had depression and anxiety. I had stage fright.
Mm.
I still do today.
Mhm. Well, I will say that as far as your speech, I remember when you told me that you had a stutter,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell. Um, you're doing very well, and I'm sure that came from, years of practice and maybe even speech
Speech.
therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But you're doing very well speaking. You don't seem to be very nervous or afraid. Well, you're doing a great job of
Thank you.
managing it. And those are things that are typical for anyone. People have stage fright. I know for me, when I first started doing these virtual talks, I was a little afraid of being shown on camera and having, all of the internet watching
Mm-hmm.
me. But, over time, I've gotten to be a little bit more comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is not something that's uncommon at all. And I will just let you know that you're doing beautiful with it.
Thank you.
Hmm. So you mentioned, being afraid of what others thought about you,
Mm-hmm.
um, having some depression
Mm-hmm.
because you were different, and you just felt alienated.
Mm-hmm.
What other challenges did you have to overcome while growing up?
Doing classwork, turning in on time, going to bed on time because I had insomnia because of my depression and
Mm-hmm.
because of my stage fright.
Mm-hmm.
I had tremors. It was horrible.
So, what did you do to manage that over time?
Like 2 years after high school, I went to a mental health hospital because it gotten so bad. It was
Mm.
around 2011.
Mhm.
I managed to get some help. Now I'm on
Mhm.
2 treatment plans. I've been on it for 12 years and it's working amazingly well.
Mhm.
My tremors are gone away. My stutter has calmed down
Mhm.
drastically.
Mhm.
And I thank my dear mother for that.
Hmm. So I would think that a lot of that probably came from anxiety or nervousness.
Yeah.
And so once you were able to learn how to control that and work through it, and then sometimes, there might be medication or some type of herbal remedies that would be useful. But once you were able to work through that, um, it worked for you, and you've been able to, it
Amen.
seems like, do more things and acclimate more with those around you.
Hmm.
So sometimes those types of things are necessary, and again, not just for people on the spectrum. Other people
Outside
will
too.
experience those things as well.
Hmm.
Okay. So you spoke a little bit about your mother. Tell us about your family and your community, because we know that community is important. And one thing that you mentioned earlier that I know many with autism face is that feeling of alienation. You're feeling so different that it's
Yeah.
hard to communicate with others. It's hard to bond with people, even your own age. And so, one thing that I know that I try to do is help my son to form those relationships. Just because for him, he kind of needs an icebreaker sometimes. He needs to be introduced to
That
people. And then once I do that, he's normally okay. But tell us about your community. What was it like growing up?
it was just me, my mother, and our four siblings. We grew up in a small town called Kingston, New York for 16 years.
Mm,
That's where I got most of my therapy from, is in
mm.
New York. That's the best state in the country for people with autism
Oh,
because they
wow.
have therapy, they have speech pathologists, you name it. They have it there for people
Okay.
with children with special needs. That's an amazing state to live in. But when
Okay.
I was 16, I moved to North Carolina with my mother and our three siblings.
Hmm.
And I went to high school, graduated. I still have problems with making friends at the time, but because of my
Hmm.
stutter and my anxiety. But as time went on, I started dressing up more and put my lipstick on, and they all came asking me about where I got my outfit from and where I did my
Hmm.
hair and stuff like that.
Hmm.
That's how I made friends,
Well, good.
and they stuck around.
Yeah,
It was wow.
that's
I didn't think
great.
it was that easy, but once I started like putting on my lipstick and my nails and shoes and
Hmm.
stuff like that, they all came
Hmm.
running.
So it's like they saw something in you and they were attracted to you. They wanted to be around you. They wanted to be friends with you.
Yeah.
Did you ever have to have the conversation and tell them that you had autism?
Unfortunately, I never brought it up because I was too afraid of what people may think.
Mm,
I was too afraid
okay.
at the time.
But they were able to accept you for who you are. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
And so that's a great lesson too, because even as parents, we fear that people won't accept, our children for who they are. And I'm sure, living with autism, you felt the same way. Like you want to tell people, why you're different, or you want to explain to them, I have this condition, just letting you know, just in case, I get a little anxious, you might hear a stutter, but you're kind of afraid because you don't want them to get scared and
Yeah.
maybe back away from you. But it's
Yeah.
awesome that they stayed there and they accepted you for who you are.
Yeah. That's the
That's
best
great.
part. And I also
Hmm.
didn't want them to think that I lacked empathy or I didn't want to be bothered because autism, it has a really, really negative stereotype. That's
Hmm.
why I never brought it up.
Hmm.
People with autism are often viewed as aggressive or not wanting to be touched, lack of
Hmm.
empathy, stuff like that. That's why I
Hmm.
never brought it up.
And I will say that there are some people on the spectrum that prefer not to be touched, or
Hmm.
maybe have, some issues with interpreting emotions. And that's understandable. That's something
Hmm.
that they will have to work through. However, as we talked about before, it's a spectrum. So not
Hmm.
all individuals on the spectrum are like that. And
That's
I know
right.
quite a few people that are on the spectrum that want to be embraced. They can sense. Is it you?
That's why I never. Yeah, I'm scared they may not believe me. So.
Hmm. Yeah, and they can sense, how others feel, and they feel emotions as well. So, for people out there that think that they can just say things and, oh, it may not hurt them or upset them, they have
Wow.
feelings just like
Oh my
everyone
goodness.
else.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Right. So, what about dating? Have you considered that? Have you done that in the past? Is it something that you want to do?
It's something that I want to do, but that part of my life is really flat at the moment.
Okay. Okay. Well, I always say when it's your time, it's your time. There's a
Amen.
season in your life for everything. And you just want to make sure that, whoever it is a good person and
Yeah.
is going to be there to love and support you when the time comes. Because dating
Mhm.
is complicated. It's very complicated.
Mhm.
And so, we all want to be loved. And I'm just so happy that you have that community around you. You have loved ones and friends to support you in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it comes to dating, I want to make sure that the man God has for me accepts the whole picture of me,
Mm-hmm.
not just the exterior, but my autism as well,
Yes.
because that's going to be part of our relationship as well.
Yes. Absolutely. I agree.
Mhm.
All right. So let's see. What are some of the things that you have been able to accomplish that you never thought that you would be able to accomplish?
Yowza. Wow. Oh, wow. At age 20, I moved to Florida for 8 months
Okay.
to be part of this college program for 10 months.
Okay.
Then I went back to North Carolina and I went to college in Florida for 4 years.
Mhm.
And my family followed me 4 years after I left because
Okay.
they missed me so much. Yeah, I managed to have my own place. Now I have my own
Mhm.
place. I'm
Mhm.
working. I I go to the grocery store and get my own food. I cook
Mhm.
for myself. I clean my own house. I stay organized. That's something that took years of practice to do.
Okay.
It took years of
Wow.
practice because
And I
in
will
high school I
say,
couldn't do any of that at all.
wow. Well, I was going to say there are some adults today that still they're not on the spectrum and they still don't have those skills down pat. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that you've been able to travel, you've been able to go
Mhm.
to school, go to college, and now you've been able to have your own home and
Mhm.
have a sense of pride in the things that you have in your own home. What does that feel like for you?
Wow, that tells me that I'm just like every other human being on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm just as capable as everybody else,
Mm.
and that my disability does not limit me. A negative
Yeah.
mindset limits people.
Yes, I totally agree with you on that. That's something that in my coaching, I really try to express is that mindset is everything. The way that you think and perceive things really creates the outlook and determines your future. It determines how you're going to move forward. So
Mm-hmm.
that is awesome that you've had this I can do it spirit and this I can do it mindset, which has in turn translated to all these beautiful things that you've been able to accomplish. So
Yeah.
I'm really,
Thank you
I'm
for
really
that.
proud of you, even though I just met you not too long ago. So, what lessons would you like to share with others who maybe are not so familiar with autism and still kind of like, nervous about it? What lessons or words of advice can you give?
I want everyone to know to drop the negative stereotype about autism. It's only because we're all different and unique in our own ways, and not everyone is aggressive or empathetic,
Mhm.
unempathetic, or wanting to be touched. Not everybody's like that.
Mhm.
Even those are not
Mhm.
autistic.
Mhm.
And to
Very
like
true.
just give it a chance. You'd be surprised.
Mhm.
Just say hello, and we'll love on you and accept you as you.
Awesome. Yes. And I would just like to share that this has been an amazing experience for me, especially being a mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I think your experience has been a beautiful learning opportunity for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it just reconfirms my thoughts of, it doesn't matter what the disability is. If you believe and you're willing to do some work to make changes, you can accomplish anything. And
Mm-hmm.
so, for those parents or family members, or even individuals who have autism that may be watching this, know that just because you were given a diagnosis, just because someone told you that you can't do something, or just because you may be going through a hard time right now, you may be struggling with communication or whatever it may be, know that that does not have to be your future.
Exactly.
It's just a time that you're experiencing right now. And
It's a
even
bump.
for the parents who have some hardships, there may be some behaviors that their kids are experiencing. And I know it can be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to downplay any of that, but just know that there can be light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Yep.
And that the
Anything
Lord,
else?
sorry.
Go ahead. Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, the Lord put us in this situation for a very good reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's to show the world that we are all different and that we all
Mm-hmm.
have flaws. We all have limits too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think
And
that's
then just to love and appreciate one another.
yeah,
Because we
you
just
hit
never
it
know
right
what
on the
someone else is going through.
you hit it right on the nail. That's very important. So, where can we find you and where can we find out more about your writing and your blogging?
I'm mainly on Instagram. It's called An Unique Mind. And my blog is called www.anyuniquemind.com.
Mm-hmm.
A Unique Mind is also the name of my blog. On my blog, I talk about my experiences as an autistic woman, sometimes my stutter, my twin sister, just about my life
Awesome.
and about my anxiety and stuff like that.
All the things. Great.
Hmm.
So, what I'm going to do is I will make sure to put that information in the comments section
Hmm.
of this video. And I would love to have you write some blogs for me in the future on my
I love
website
to.
and some that I can post on social media. And
I love
so,
to.
everyone, be sure to follow her on Instagram and check out her blogs because I really believe that she can be an inspiration. Her writing is great. And I think you're really going somewhere. So, again, I'm very
I
proud
thank
of
you
you
very
and
much.
so thankful. So thankful that you sat down and did this for me.
Yeah, I thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. All right. Thank you guys. We'll see you again